Welcome, everybody, to Wrestling Observer Live. We are here on Friday, February 27th, 2026, as always, because this show, Wrestling Observer Live, is here 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. Sundays at 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, with my main man, Andrew Zarian. And Saturday mornings with my esteemed colleague, Jim Valley, at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern. As always on the show, today, we got a lot to talk about. Good Lord. This weekend, we have Elimination Chamber, which on the road to WrestleMania is sure to shape the card greatly. We will find out who will end up challenging Drew McIntyre for the WWE, I don't even know, Universal Championship, whatever it is, at WrestleMania. We will also find out who it is that will challenge Jade Cargill for the women's title, also at WrestleMania, as there are 2 Elimination Chamber matches tomorrow. But that's not all, because tonight we, of course, have SmackDown on the USA Network. Tomorrow, there is an AEW Collision show that was taped this past Wednesday in Denver, but we can talk about what will take place on that card tomorrow. And there was a big TNA Impact on AMC show last night, which we could talk about as well. There's other news to get into. Did you guys know? Did anybody have any clue? Has this been reported? There's an AI Antonio Inoki out there, and on the way, there will be an Antonio Inoki android. Can you believe it? Breaking news right here on Wrestling Observer Live 1 week later. For the rest of the show, this will become a filthy fun Friday, and we are cooking up a storm, because joining me in the next segment will be the incomparable Lance Storm. So come back with us and join us for a fun, filthy 50 minutes of pro wrestling. Wrestling Observer Live back on the air with you today. Filthy Tom Lawlor being joined by my co-host Lance Storm. Welcome to the show, Lance. How are you?
I'm doing well, Tom. Thank you.
All right. Well, very succinct.
You've met me, right?
Yeah. Par for the course. I don't have too much going on over here, which is fine by me. I mean, nice 80-degree weather day outside. My family and friends back up in the Northeast are still buried in snow, so I'm not going to complain too bad.
Yeah, we got snow here last night, so.
How much?
Like 1.5 2 inches maybe.
Oh, yeah?
Nothing too bad for Calgary.
My favorite amount of snow is Informer. You know, she be talking about the man. I like it, boom, boom, now.
Alrighty then.
Well, I'm also in a good mood, because not only is it nice outside, I'm not in the snow, but there's going to be a big weekend of wrestling that I can sit down and watch in between my drive to Ontario, California for my daughter's gymnastics meet. But I will take my downtime tomorrow to watch the Elimination Chamber. I can watch AEW Collision. If I so chose, I could watch the TKO doubleheader. I could watch UFC Mexico City, which will go head-to-head with Elimination Chamber. They love to cannibalize whatever small percentage of the audience watches both. They're always running against each other, it seems, but I digress, because there's no shortage of shows every week. Tonight, we will start off the action with a big SmackDown ahead of the Elimination Chamber tomorrow. And we have a full preview of this show, which, you know, I think will actually come out and be pretty noteworthy in the end. We'll have a face-to-face with all 6 members of the Elimination Chamber match. That's Javon Evans, Trick Williams, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, LA Knight, and Jey Uso, who apparently was not supposed to be involved in this matchup, but, you know, now is because of a freak injury to the freak Bronson Reed. So he was taken out of the match on Monday. Jey Uso won, and now he is in this Elimination Chamber. Everybody expects Cody Rhodes to win the match on Saturday at the Elimination Chamber, but I just feel that Drew versus Cody one-on-one it's been done. It's been done ad nauseum. It's, to me, and even if they add some stipulation, I know it's been speculated that like you could add Hell in a Cell. I just think it's been done too many times. They need to add another wrinkle. Of course, it's been thought that Jacob Fatu would be in the mix. However, he's not even in this Elimination Chamber match. When I watch the TV every week, to me, it looks like they're setting up some sort of multi-man match with Drew, with Randy Orton. Drew attacked Randy Orton last week. Of course, he's going after everybody that's in this match, but he attacked Randy Orton last week. He's had beef with Cody Rhodes, of course, for what seems like a eternity at this point. And then you, of course, have Fatu out there, Sami Zayn. So I think they're moving towards some sort of multi-man match. I don't know what it'll end up being, but I think we're going to find out tomorrow. And I think Drew is probably going to interfere in that match because he has nothing else going on.
I don't know why a champion would interfere in the match, but you're right. And it's tough because if it is just a singles match, it feels like we've been there before. But if you find a way to get to a multi-person match, you're kind of spitting, I'll use a different word, on the stip of the Elimination Chamber. It's like the winner's supposed to be the guy. If someone who's not in it or didn't win it ends up in the title match, you're kind of going back on the whole point of the chamber.
Yeah, I think there needs to just be some sort of insane amount of chaos. I mentioned Drew McIntyre has nothing going on in the show, but neither does Jacob Fatu. So they could all somehow become involved. Sami Zayn is not in a match tomorrow on the show. So there's a lot of moving parts, I think, that could end up being added in there somehow. And I'm interested to see because, like I said, I just think Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre is going back to the well one too many times. Tonight on SmackDown, we'll also have Rio defend the WWE Women's Tag title against as they have now been coined, the irresistible forces of Nia Jax and Lash Legend. And with the Women's Elimination Chamber on the horizon tomorrow, and Rhea Ripley in that match and being the biggest star in that match, I would not be surprised to see them do a title switch here, have Rhea win the Elimination Chamber match tomorrow, and have a big powerhouse showdown with Jade Cargill at WrestleMania. And I think it would be a good spot for Nia Jax and for Lash Legend to get the push, get her first big title on the main roster, and then they could defend it at WrestleMania against a number of different teams in a multi-person match or, even in a straight tag match against somebody.
Yeah, I agree. I prefer when the championship is on the biggest star, and I think Rhea is that biggest star, and I think booking in general tends to hand it around so everybody gets a turn too much. I would like to see Rhea back in the women's singles division, and I think her and Jade is an intriguing matchup.
Yeah, and I don't think it's one of the situations where, like, if you split Rhea and Io apart after WrestleMania, that either one of them is going to suffer. Io has already been made. She didn't need to be in this team. Sure, it elevated her in the eyes of some of the fans, but she didn't need to be in this team with Rhea. She was going to be fine regardless, and splitting them apart makes the single scene stronger with the women. And, I have no problem seeing Nia and Lash be the natural disasters of the women's tag division,
I'm older than you. I'd rather see them as the Road Warriors than the Natural Disasters, but okay.
You know who I have more fond memories of, to be fair, is probably the Natural
You're
Disasters.
Younger than I am. The Road Warriors are who got me into being a wrestling fan. These monsters that killed people.
I'm always going to have a soft spot for, both Typhoon and John Tenta in my heart because, like the first college bar I went to when I moved to Orlando in 2001. Can you imagine? You walk into the bar and the bouncer is Earthquake.
That dude is so huge.
I was like, I was in shock. You know what I mean? I was frozen.
You behaved yourself.
I felt the tremors. Of course I behaved myself. I was a huge fan.
I actually wrestled, I'm trying to think what name he used at the time.
Shark?
Fred Ottman in Japan. My first tour with WAR. It was a tag team tournament, and he was there. And I think it might have actually been my first match for WAR. Was Akio Sato and Fred Ottman against myself, and I don't remember who my partner was. And I just couldn't believe how wide his back was. Like, the guy's just enormous.
Uncle Howdy. I could sit here and talk about those two for the rest of the show, so I have to move on because there's an Uncle Howdy versus Solo Sikoa match taking place tonight, which it's got to be good. This has to be like when the Clowns took on the Wyatts, and I expected nothing, and it was awesome. This has to exceed all my expectations. So I am now waiting with bated breath for this match. Obafemi is going to be shown the ropes by The Miz, as The Miz offered that very thing last week.
Is he going to stand there and point at them and go, "Those are the ropes"?
Yeah, I think so. He said, "Let me show you the ropes." And Oba's like, no problem. I'll go talk to Nick Aldis right now. I'm trying not to do an Obafemi impression. So, and then Jordan Grace will take on Candice LeRae. Of course, the Elimination Chamber tomorrow. We'll have CM Punk versus Finn Balor. The Men's Elimination Chamber, which I mentioned earlier. The Women's Intercontinental Championship will be on the line. Becky Lynch against AJ Lee. And then the Women's Elimination Chamber. Can you believe it's been 30 years since they have been in the United Center? Wow. That's crazy. Because, hey, 10 years ago, I won a UFC Performance Knockout of the Night on that very show. We'll be back in the next segment to talk more pro wrestling on Wrestling Observer Live. We're live, back on the air with you, filthy Tom Lawlor and Lance Storm, hosting it up on a filthy, fun Friday. I had some fun watching TNA Impact last night, Lance. Not as much fun, I will say. There's some stuff that bothered me on the show. I didn't have as much fun as I did watching it last week. I thought last week had some great in-ring action. I loved that guitar case casket match as we went over last week. This week...
That guitar case needs to be in a museum somewhere. That was well built.
It's not in pieces at this point?
No. Well, I hope not. They even had strings on it.
Where do you store that?
I don't know, man. They lug it around the truck. Where do they store the cage and all the other crap that you use once in a blue moon?
Well, I mean, the show was taped in Nashville, right? Is that correct?
We were then, yeah.
Yeah, so anywhere, like if there's anywhere on planet Earth that would have one of those guitar case caskets, it would be Nashville. So, perhaps it's like just on display at a bar.
Yeah, why not?
Well, this show actually was also taped in Nashville, I believe. And it opened with Macklin, a video recap of Macklin trying to invade the tapings. It had some video of the guitar case casket match before we went to the in-ring portion, which was TNA World Champion Santana teaming once again with TNA X Division Champion Leon Slater. They took on the Nemeth brothers. Frankie Kazarian was doing guest commentary. The baby faces cleared the ring. Slater dove onto the brothers early, and then the brothers the Nemeth brothers distracted the referee a few times. They got the heat on Santana. Santana hit the rolling buck 50, tagged in Slater. Slater flew off the top with a cross body block, which you very rarely see nowadays, before Santana came back in.
It always gets a reaction. People should do it more.
Well, not only that, we could talk about, we will talk about this more later probably, but he did the cross body block, and it's not the one that you see so often now where the person catching it kind of jumps and takes a bump as well. It was the one where like you catch the guy and you kind of roll him over, so it's it just looks different visually. And as you know, as fans know, anything that looks a little bit different, a slight variation on the norm is always a welcome addition. So, I thought keep it in the repertoire because it always works, like you said. I'm sorry. Slater got back in. He got hit with a famouser. Slater fought Nemeth off the top rope, but Eric Young, who has an X Division title shot courtesy of Feast or Fired, ran out for a distraction. He was run off by Santana. Leon went for the Swanton 450. Nemeth got the knees up, and Nick Nemeth cradled Leon Slater, pinned him to win the match, got his win back after being defeated in the main event of No Surrender just weeks ago.
So we have the Good Brothers. Are these the Nemeth, the not so good brothers?
They are bad brothers.
Bad brothers.
We had then Danny Luna take on Lei Ying Lee. And Lance, if you could ever get me a job, I just want to be the freak camera guy who's got to wear the chain for Danny Luna to get pulled in. That seems like a great gig for her entrance. So Danny beat up Lei Ying Lee. She couldn't put her away, so instead she went and grabbed this said steel chain, wrapped it around the top turnbuckle. She tried to run Ye Lee. I get this wrong every time. Lei Ying Lee into it, despite the fact she'd be DQ'd. It was halted by Lei. She fired back with a series of kicks. An awesome, vicious thrust super kick. Looked like it was straight out of your playbook now that I think about it. They rammed into each other multiple times. Luna tripped her, locked on a sleeper. Again, they traded roll-ups, and this infuriated me because Danny Luna kicked out of a pin attempt. Lei Ying Lee flew headfirst into the chains. This was not a DQ. These chains should not have been in the ring. Luna should have been disqualified. She was not. I guess the referee didn't see it. Luna German suplexed her, hit a sit-out Widowmaker, and got the win. Refs, across the board, we got to do better than this. NXT, Raw, TNA, everywhere. Refs are being distracted by nothing, by dust in the air, pixies. I don't know what it is. They're missing blatant interference, not calling DQs.
There's a hereditary lack of peripheral vision in pro wrestling refs. We need to address that.
You think it's chromosomal?
We actually had a legally blind ref for a while.
Excuse me?
We had
Tell me more.
In TNA, we had, I think it was in WWE first, we had a ref that was visually impaired enough that he was legally blind. And we actually, on one occasion, had him refereeing a Crazy Steve match, who was also legally blind. Oh. And I was just like, wow, this is interesting.
If only you could have had Stan Hansen there ringside as well. So Alicia Edwards was going to decline to re-sign with TNA, but of all people... I'm sorry.
Alicia Edwards.
I apologize.
Thank you.
Alicia Edwards was... she was coaxed out of it by Mose. Of all people. We then had AJ Francis take on Mance Warner, and these guys brawled all across around the ring side, inside the ring, outside the ring. Steph DeLander got involved, and once again, AJ Francis grabs a chair, just like Danny Luna in the last match. He said, enough with this. I'm going to grab a foreign object. Well, Steph DeLander distracted him enough that Mance Warner just took it and started beating AJ Francis with the chair. He got DQ'd.
Well, the ref saw it. Be happy, bro.
There's no consistency. I just want to know what the rules are. I don't particularly care if they're lax. I just want them to be consistent. So he used a foreign object. He got DQ'd.
Well, I believe, and I could be wrong here because there is no actual pro wrestling rule book, you can't pick up a foreign object and hit someone. But if there is an object laying somewhere, sitting somewhere, you can throw a person at it.
Please, no.
It's like you're not allowed to pick up the stairs and hit them, but you can whip them into the stairs.
I am going to bring in one of those long strips of spikes that the police throw out in a high-speed chase and just start Irish whipping people at it. Why not? There's no DQ.
Gimmick.
Huh? Come on.
Road Rage Filthy Tom.
I mean, it is a deadly thing. So the purveyor of hardcore country, Mickie James, came out. This time she didn't cut down Dave Meltzer, but she did cut down Ash by Elegance, who came out. They went back and forth in a promo. The crowd told Ash she sucked after she told Mickie that she was better than she is. Mickie reminded her that she basically got her foot in the door. She got the foot in the door for Ash after she left WWE, and they got into it. The camera went backstage. The Elegance brand was cornering Mickie James' son. Mickie James' son goes to the concierge. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing in here? You shouldn't be in here." And some guy from the crowd yells, "He shouldn't be near children, period."
Wow. I didn't catch that.
Oh, man. You hear it clear as day.
Poor George.
So Mickie ran back to help him, but she got laid out by the Elegance brand, who also laid out Jody Threat during this. So Harley Hudson went and got Santino to kind of take care of this. Like, hey, Jody Threat's laid out. We need help. So Daria Ray shows up and blames Santino for this. She verbally runs him down and then told him that his daughter is going to be a great champion no matter what he thinks, and he needs to get his stuff together now. I howled at this, as Brian would say. Jada Stone and Tasha Steelz had a good back and forth match that Jada Stone won after she countered a cutter attempt. She did a handstand, crucifixed Tasha Steelz, and pinned the former Knockouts champion, but she got beat up afterwards. Tasha Steelz wasn't having it. Later out with the cutter. Tom Hannafin welcomed Steve Macklin back to the Impact Zone, or the non-Impact Zone, where they talked about Macklin being fired because of the Feast or Fired briefcase. Macklin talked about Santana being selfish in the past, abandoning him. Macklin told Tom that Tom owed Macklin his job, and Tom kind of acquiesced, but he called out Macklin for a lack of accountability, and this sent Steve over the edge. He punched his longtime friend in the gut, leveled him. Tom was laid up, curled over in the fetal position. Santana ran out. Macklin shoved poor Matt Raywalt to the floor, and that was the end of the segment. I thought it was good. The crowd hated Macklin, which, just weeks ago I wouldn't have expected.
Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of the gut punch, too, to a non-wrestler, because if you've ever had the wind knocked out of you, it's like, it sucks, and it's sort of also, it's like, they were good friends, so just punching him in the face seems a bit much, but just knocking the wind out of dude is such a crappy thing to do. I keep looking for appropriate words for the radio, but
yeah.
Such a low-end thing to do, punch a guy and knock his wind out of him.
Non-expletives.
Yes.
And I thought you mentioned for a non-wrestler, I thought Tom Hannafin did a great job taking that punch and curling over. You know what I mean? All it took was one. He didn't oversell it. So big props to Tom Hannafin. We'll talk about the main event of TNA on AMC and more when we come back from the break. Observer Live, Filthy Tom Lawlor and Lance Storm on the air with you. Still a lot to get into today. We got to talk about this AI Antonio Inoki and the Android dream matches that he could have. But let's wrap up this TNA on AMC Impact episode for now. The main event was the System versus the Hardys and the Righteous. The Righteous, of course, have been on a mission to convince the Hardys that they are on the same side as them. They are not trying to get close to them for nefarious means. They're all on the same page. And after the attack by Steve Macklin on Tom Hannafin, Gia Miller filled in for Tom on commentary. And I thought she was going to do play-by-play at first, and I was wondering if this is the first female play-by-play announcer we'd have on major American television wrestling. I remember Renee Paquette was doing some sort of color commentary. I think they usually had a 3-person booth on Raw, but she would be on commentary for a while. But Gia Miller did what I would say was color commentary and not play-by-play. And I enjoyed listening to her. I thought she did a good job. I don't know if she's been in this role before. I don't know if she's had to fill in on occasion, but I enjoyed listening to her. I thought she was enthusiastic, and I wouldn't mind listening to her more.
Well, then you need to watch our Explosion show, because Gia and Tom Hannafin are our commentary duo during Explosion.
So you're trying to get me to do more work.
Well, you said you could, you would enjoy hearing more from Gia Miller. Well, she's on regularly, 1 or 2 matches a week on Explosion.
I did say that. I might have to just listen to the audio as I take my dogs for a walk. The soothing sounds of Gia Miller.
There you go.
Color commentary. So the match built to Bear Bronson versus Dutch as the powerhouse battle. Dutch won, and then all things started breaking down. Vincent and Dutch did a poetry of motion, a Baldo bomb, one of my favorite moves by Bear Bronson, took out Vincent. Matt Hardy got tagged in, ran wild. He had a side effect. Myers broke it up. Vincent made the save for Matt. Jeff hit a twist of fate on Bear. Cedric kicked Jeff. Dutch gave him a black hole slam. Eddie super kicked him to the floor. Matt Hardy hit the Christian falling DDT. Eddie Edwards gave him a falling blue thunder bomb. He set up for the Boston knee party, but Vincent shoved Matt out of the way, took the proverbial bullet for Matt Hardy in an attempt to once again earn his trust so that they can betray them in the future for sure. And the System won the match. Not only did they win the match, but they beat up the losers of the match after the match for good measure, until former System member Moose ran down. He got beat up by the System until Alicia Edwards ran down and put an end to the beating, protecting her friend Moose against the attack from her husband, Eddie Edwards, as the show ended.
Got some family drama coming.
It looks like it's already started.
Oh, yeah.
Do I need a little bit more backstory on that, or is Moose and Alicia being friends enough?
Well, she's been the one that goes to the ring with Moose more often than not, so there is a tight friendship there. So we'll see where this goes.
Enough to go against who you live with at home, you know?
Well, I'd rather have Eddie or Moose mad at me than Lish. I'll tell you that.
Well, so I don't have the YouTube chat mad at me. I'm going to give a quick preview of AEW Collision right now, which was taped in Denver this past week. We'll have the Death Riders, consisting of Pac, Wheeler, Daniel Garcia, and Claudio Castagnoli, taking on the Don Callis family in 8-man action, as the Don Callis family will consist of Rocky Romero, Trent Beretta, Josh Alexander, and Lance Archer. Big Tom, Tomohiro Ishii will take on Andrade El Idolo in singles action. Tony Storm versus Zeta Steel. Jay Lethal versus Tommaso Ciampa in the 2011 ROH special. The Brawling Birds will be in action. Kazuchika Okada and Kyle Fletcher will take on Top Flight. And Chris Statlander and Thunder Rosa will take on the Sisters of Sin. Now, Lance, I'd like to talk about a topic that I know you would too, that's been on the minds and tongues of many people on the internet and the wrestling world, and that is the subject of dives. Because this past week, there was an instance in which Penelope Ford did a moonsault to the floor, and granted, I did not see the whole match. I have only seen that spot, but she did a moonsault to the floor against Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron in a match which her and Megan Bayne were trying to win the AEW Women's Tag Titles, and in the course of doing this moonsault to the floor, she suffered an ACL injury, I believe.
Oh, really? I heard it was an ankle.
Oh, was it ankle?
I heard a sprained ankle. Maybe
she got hurt. Hopefully it was just a sprained ankle. So what really the reason I'm bringing this up is because of the discourse that has come out of this. And there's been a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blaming at people one way or another. And both I and Lance have, very strong thoughts and opinions on this. So, Lance, I'd like to open it up, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'll start with, because again, I'm old. Back in my day, those who were really, really acrobatic and good at diving would only be the ones doing difficult dives, and they would only do them when they had people that were good at catching them. Ultimo Dragon's acai moonsault, which he invented, he wouldn't do it on everybody because he wanted good catchers. And they also used to, and again, this is not pointing a finger at anyone, it's just they used to lay them out much more. Great Sasuke, Ultimo Dragon, would lay those moonsaults out so that you could catch them chest to chest, almost in a tombstone position, and prevent them from hitting the floor, especially because they generally dove on people bigger than them who could catch them. And then doing the moves became more important than the safety, and people who didn't do them as well would just flip and hope for the best. And I think Brian went on a rant yesterday about, when you plan on landing on your feet, you've got knees coming at your face and head, and they're hard to catch. And I've even had divers, I've heard them say, it's like, oh, I don't really need you to catch me, so just sort of be close by and I'll land on my feet, don't worry about it. And that's where those blaming poor Harley Cameron for not catching her, it's like, you don't even know if she was supposed to. Like, it's possible, Penelope said, it's like, oh, I'll just land on my feet, just be close to me, we'll be fine. And unfortunately, she hurt her ankle or knee. And it really comes down to what the goal is. And if you're expecting people to catch you, you need to dive in a manner by which you can be caught. And if you're planning on just landing on your feet and having people near you because you don't care all that much about being caught, then there's those risk of injuries. We've seen a couple of the moonsaults where they over-rotate and smash their head on the floor and get concussed.
Yeah.
Or just landing on your feet, and eventually your knees and ankles are going to go, because I don't even like jumping off the apron and landing on my feet anymore because my knees hurt too much. So you should not be pointing fingers when you don't know what the plan was going into the dive, and we should also be more cautious with dives because a lot of people do ones that are hard to catch. And, Brian's an advocate for just the traditional high cross body off the top rope to the floor. Looks great and is catchable. And again, especially if you jump on people who are bigger than you that can catch you. So you don't have Mike Awesome diving on poor Spike Dudley, which was done back in the day and did neither one of them any favors.
But it was awesome.
It got a pop, but poor Spike got squashed, and Mike did on more than one occasion blow an ACL doing that dive.
Well, one of the issues too with, and I'll say from experience being in there and catching people on dives, is that, like you mentioned, on this moonsault especially that Penelope Ford does, and she has done it without being injured. We've seen that happen. However, it only takes there's a small margin of error when you're coming off the top rope like that. It's not something I think that she's out there practicing all the time, because how could you? You know what I mean? You can't go and risk doing that to the floor without some sort of gigantic padding there, without risking injury. And quite frankly, it's not worth it to do it in training. It's much more beneficial just to, kind of know how to do the moonsault, get out there and give it a shot. Unless you have this giant crash pad. And even then, that's going to alter how you land as well. So it's something that is very hard to train. Now, as a base or somebody who's catching the dive, more often than not, in the sort of moonsault that Penelope Ford was doing, and the sort of moonsault that you'll see Tiffany Stratton do, Charlotte, where they backflip and land on their feet and don't want to be caught, you're usually told to step in. And I'll usually ask whoever's doing the dive, how do you want to be caught? Do you want to go over my back and kind of land on my shoulder in almost like a power slam position, or like the moonsault? Do you want me to catch you? Do you want me to grab you and bring you down with me? Even when somebody is doing something as simple as a tope suicida, a suicide dive, I'll ask, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to take it? Do you want me to put my hands up? Do you want me to just eat it? What is the best? How close do you want me to be? something like a tope con hilo. And of all things, I am not, saying I am a great professional wrestler by any means, but I am willing to put myself in danger, at least for the other person's sake, to catch a dive. And there's been one time I remember really not getting there. I was too far back as the guy did a flip dive, a tope con hilo over the top. It was against Trey Lamar at a Black Label Pro show during the day portion of a 2-day show. So that tells you how vividly I remember not catching somebody on a dive. And, I think that's one of the other things. You have to be comfortable putting yourself in danger for the other person. And it's not something that you can do. You have to go over that beforehand.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You can't do this sort of thing on the fly. You have to know, yes, I am comfortable getting in the way. Yes, I am comfortable sacrificing myself. Maybe I'm going to eat one of these knees, and that is just that's collateral damage if we're doing something, this dangerous. Does it have to be done? No. But it's not my style. It's not my favorite thing that I like to watch in wrestling, but it is part of the lay of the land nowadays. And if people are going to be doing these crazy top rope dives to the outside, both people have to be in agreement of exactly where you're going to stand, where you're going to land, so that we don't see basically non-contact injuries like this happen throughout wrestling in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, too, people need to read, like, again, if I'm doing the dive and you're catching me as an example, it's like, if you seem at all hesitant or unsure, it should be on me to go, you know what, let's do something else. Because if one of the 2 or one of the 4 people involved in a dive or any kind of move is hesitant or unsure, your chance of injury goes way up. And I think more people should put the safety ahead of getting their stuff in, if you will. Yeah.
One of the coolest moves that I've seen in the past few weeks was simply Kevin Knight doing a house show dive over the post. Added virtually no difficulty, looked a little bit different, looked awesome, and got a reaction just like we're going to try to do as we wrap up the end of the show. Wrestling Observer Live coming. Filthy Tom Lawlor and Lance Storm diving through the middle and over the top, respectively, back at you to wrap up Wrestling Observer Live. I'd like to get into the most important news of the entire week in the last segment here, that AI Antonio Inoki has appeared. Breaking news. Not 7 days ago did we have this story, but just now, there's an AI Antonio Inoki. The android robot will be here next year, and I have just been thinking about all of the dream matches. We talked about Antonio Inoki against Suzuki or the Mecha Mummy last week. Unfortunately, John Cena, the prototype, is gone, so we can't have that robot versus robot match. Are there any other robot matches you could think of for this android Inoki, Lance?
Well,
I don't want to hog all the time.
We could get the return of RoboCop.
Oh my God.
With all of his wrestling experience from the 90s.
We could have RoboCop. What's up with the new breed? Do they count? Weren't they from the future?
They were. I need to go back and look up what year they were from.
I mean, let's be honest. Who wouldn't want to see an android Antonio Inoki taking on Oz?
Oz, welcome to Oz.
Oz, there's so many matches out there for this android Antonio Inoki. I cannot wait until 2027 hits. But until then, we're just going to have to deal with this AI Antonio Inoki for the foreseeable future. And for the foreseeable future, Wrestling Observer Live will be back on the air tomorrow with Jim Valley. We'll be back on the air Sunday with Andrew Zarian. Brian Alvarez has threatened to come back on the air next Monday, so we'll see if he shows his pansy face on the radio. If not, it'll be Filthy Tom Lawlor, Lance Storm. One of us will be here with you. And we will see you next time on Wrestling Observer Live.